Fergie used to refer to herself as the tripod, didn't she? We haven't seen her in months, even though she and her girls were so close. She is meant to be in the Middle East, supposed to be skiing in the Alps, and supposed to be at a wellness farm in Ireland. It's possible that she traveled to Australia to visit her sister. She can't escape forever, but I don't think anyone knows where she is, possibly Portugal. Eventually, she must go back and handle everything that was waiting for her. Consider it. You wake up one day and discover that the life that everyone believed you had is no longer there. The glossy world, the royal occasions, the moments that were ideal for the camera, all of it disappeared. Just silence, no more staged pictures, no public appearances. Now picture something quite different, traveling stealthily from one private home to another, avoiding attention, remaining undetected, even using many phones since you're worried that you might be being followed. That's a significant shift, and based on current reports, Sarah Ferguson may find herself in that situation. Please click subscribe if you haven't already before we continue. It ensures that you see every royal story and exclusive detail and keeps this channel running. I promise you won't want to miss what happens next as we dissect royal drama layer by layer in Crown Aura. Sign up today and stay tuned for the new allegations, the next turn of events, and ongoing royal coverage. Sarah Ferguson was always able to bounce back. She always found a way to reappear, regardless of the scandal or the headline. An interview, a speaking engagement, a book release, a charity appearance, or anything else that kept her visible and current was constantly on the horizon. Despite all that had gone wrong, it seemed as though she was still a member of that royal cosmos. She keeps a lot of information from him because, naturally, he is covering her debts. She thus comes across as a liar and extremely cynical. This woman became a professional author and advocate for children's organizations. However, there's something entirely different about this moment. The information that has come to light today presents a far more alarming picture. According to those purportedly aware with the situation, Sarah is no longer leading a life that is similar to what people have come to expect from her. She apparently moves about a lot and stays in residences owned by discreet, rich acquaintances who value seclusion. Dubai 1 week, Switzerland the next, Ireland the next, and so on. The locales are constantly changing for no apparent reason. Actually, no one seems to be aware of her location for longer than a brief period of time. According to these reports, that may be the whole point. It seems intentional to remain unnoticed, and I believe the evidence for that happening is now considerably stronger. I've always emphasized that Fergie played a significant role in the narrative. Then there was the assertion that attracted a lot of attention. According to reports, she alternates between 3 different cell phones out of concern that she is being watched. That gives the scenario an additional peculiar dimension, whether it is due to anxiety-driven behavior or justifiable prudence. When everything is considered, the image is unlike anything we've ever seen of her. Whether that anxiety is rational or the result of increasing stress, it still makes things evident. This person lacks composure and groundedness. This person is shaken, cautious, and attempting to vanish. The public doesn't remember this version of her. It's hardly the self-assured demeanor that once handled examination with assurance. It feels like the opposite, someone who is completely preoccupied with remaining concealed, cut off, and vulnerable. Additionally, there are rumors that the emotional stress is starting to show. She appears less polished and more worn out than normal, according to one source. They have, purportedly very good individuals, but it is really, really tough for them to be caught with this right now. I'll tell you who was present at Royal Ascot the previous year. Just to refresh your memory, Sarah Ferguson attended Royal Ascot last year. And if my memory serves me well, we have a picture of the king kissing Sarah Ferguson's hand as all the carriages arrived, etc., and welcome up at Balmoral for the holidays, spending Christmas with him until the past several years. She was therefore somewhat funeral-like. Yes, she was fully reintegrated and enjoying every second of it, but that has since changed. That remark caught my attention. Sarah Ferguson never considered appearance to be merely surface level, it was calculated. Maintaining a polished appearance conveyed the idea that everything was all right. Therefore, these reports are important because when that image begins to deteriorate, whether fairly or not, it indicates something more serious. They allude to something deeper than little issues. The financial aspect is another, and the rumors about it are as worrisome. According to one story, Sarah may be under financial strain because she has reportedly asked pals in private how she will handle this circumstance. I believe that in the past, I was frequently referred to as someone who lived in the era of adventure. Joy bubbles are where I reside. I do, as you are aware, I kind of push life, don't I? That alone raises concerns. Another insider even made a joke about how they wouldn't be shocked if she started making money by selling fancy handbags. Even while that sounds severe, it nevertheless indicates a concerning trend. You wouldn't expect to have this kind of talk with someone from her background. All of these facts point to the possibility that she is going through one of the most difficult periods of her life. Her past performance is what makes it even more unexpected. She had a tendency of getting better for decades. She had to struggle with financial difficulties, harsh tabloid attention, and scandals that seemed unsurvivable during the 1990s. Later on, she was asked more questions concerning financial matters and business endeavors, but she always managed to get back on track. This is precisely why it feels so strange. Almost everyone was taken aback by that moment. Sarah was caught on camera in 2010 appearing to give Prince Andrew access in return for money. You know, she was definitely at Royal Lodge. She has always been known to drink excessively, so there were reports of that. However, she's kind of disappeared. Since she no longer communicates with any of her pals, I believe that very few people are aware of her whereabouts. It was the kind of enormous scandal that would typically ruin any possibility of making a public comeback. However, she managed to become better. She was unique because of this. No matter how terrible things went, she was always able to come back. She continued to be visible: TV appearances, book sales, charitable endeavors, and sporadic appearances with a royal connection. She continued to participate in the discourse despite having no official viewpoint, and for a considerable amount of time that strategy was effective. However, the scenery feels different now. For the first time, there are genuine signs that she may be losing her ability to reinvent herself, and that the pattern of vanishing and reappearing might not be repeated this time. And Andrew Mountbatten Windsor sits in the middle of it all. Outsiders were perplexed by their friendship for years. Divorced yet incredibly close, living apart at times but seeming united most of the time, publicly standing by one another in the face of a disintegrating world. I understand you, some of these things are conjectural, but what they're saying to him in private may be a different story. I mean, if they do visit Ascot, I wouldn't be shocked. They created a story of allegiance that deviated from the norm, so I don't believe that's being, anyone really. Even though it hurt her own reputation, Sarah in particular stuck by Andrew during some of his darkest times. However, insiders now claim that bond might be changing, and the whole dynamic shifts if that relationship deteriorates. According to reports, they are still in contact, but their relationship isn't as strong as it once was. It's a significant change if that's true. Andrew was Sarah's closest remaining connection to royal life for many years. Whatever transpired, that tie remained. She felt a connection to the world she had spent so much time in. Therefore, it has a huge impact if that connection even marginally wanes. It makes it possible that she might be cut off from that group completely. Many believe that the Epstein affair was the true tipping point. I'm afraid it's just another illustration of how Sarah Ferguson acts differently in private than she does in public. Everything changed in that instant. The consequences of Andrew's 2019 TV interview were disastrous. The fallout was immediate after that. Patronages were revoked, military honors were taken away, and public support collapsed. The harm to his reputation persisted long after the legal issue was ultimately resolved. It stuck, and that weight was unavoidably felt by everyone who was close to him. Sarah publicly supported him through it all, even when it provoked criticism. However, some reports claim that she may now have a different perspective. That would make sense, of course. There was a rumor a few weeks ago that Eugenie had severed all contact with her father, but I don't think that has ever been the case. I mean, I believe that Bea and Eugenie have been speaking to both of their parents behind their backs, and despite the fact that they are embarrassed by them and clearly extremely concerned about them, I don't think any of them would simply shut them off. There are rumors that she feels alienated, alone, and even resentful of some royal family members, that she has been abandoned after years of supporting them. If that is the case, then everything that is currently happening takes on a very personal dimension. The next information, who she is allegedly depending on for help, is what truly sets this situation apart. According to reports, they are still in touch, but not in the same manner. Andrew was Sarah's closest and most trustworthy link to royal life for years, so if that's the case, it marks a significant shift. That connection kept her rooted in that world, regardless of how the public saw her. Therefore, there are serious repercussions if that link is no longer as strong. It increases the likelihood that she is now completely external. The Epstein affair is often cited as the cause of the change. Everything changed at that very instant. The consequences of Andrew's 2019 interview were disastrous. The fallout was immediate after that. Public support disappears, titles are eliminated, and patronages are lost. The harm to his reputation persisted even after the matter was eventually settled. It persisted and affected everyone who was near him. Sarah was present the whole time. However, there are also the financial connections, including an email from Epstein stating that he had provided her with financial support for 15 years. Andrew. What did she do for him in exchange? Even if it led to her own criticism, Sarah Ferguson showed loyalty by giving Epstein a type of entree into Andrew and into the royal beside him. However, some sources currently indicate that her emotions have changed. She allegedly feels ignored, alienated, and irritated by some royals, that she has been excluded despite years of devotion. If true, that gives everything going on right now a very personal touch. However, this is the point at which the narrative becomes nearly bizarre, because it's not simply what she's dealing with that is most stunning. It's the person she might be going to. This is the point at which things start to feel almost unreal. Sarah is relying on more than simply close pals. She is apparently getting back in touch with folks from her past. Suddenly, names that haven't been discussed in years are coming up again. Old friends and former loves. Long before any of this began, she knew these people. That is an important detail. It implies that rather than looking forward to new opportunities, she is looking backward for stability. An Italian aristocracy she was allegedly engaged with decades ago is one name associated with her. There are rumors that she may have stayed at a home connected to him. A location that is said to be private, remote, and out of sight. She was unable to provide an explanation. Additionally, since she poses as the Duchess of York, I do believe that there should be a little more accountability and openness. She obtains all of her employment and these endorsements in this way. She sort of succeeded in being half in and half out, which Meghan has failed to accomplish. If that is true, it gives the story a dramatic undertone. Then there are rumors that another ex-partner is willing to help, someone from her previous life. Did she ever become a member of the royal family? Thus, the image gets even more bizarre when you take a step back and consider everything collectively. A person who was formerly associated with royalty is now traveling stealthily between places, depending more on old friendships than any official safety net. And it's this contrast that keeps getting noticed. It emphasizes how much has changed from visibility to almost complete absence, from official networks to personal connections, and from public prominence to private retreat. And the more these specifics come to light, the more it seems like a far bigger issue than a passing circumstance. And the longer this progresses, the more it seems like a turning point rather than merely a challenging period, because it indicates a significant shift when someone with her background starts to rely almost exclusively on private assistance. Sarah lived in two places at once for years. Part royal neighbor, part public figure, she consistently struck a balance between independence and publicity. However, it seems like that equilibrium is now collapsing. There is a decline in the public presence, what's left is far less certain, and there's a reason why that kind of change occurs. People were, after all, furious. Up until lately, people were giving her free stuff and upgrading her. Additionally, you may believe that the spa has received a great deal of attention as a result of her presence. I mean, there's probably a method to their insanity. The sustainability of this is another issue, depending on. It doesn't seem like a long-term strategy, but friends, past relationships, and short-term housing arrangements might work for the time being, and people are beginning to recognize that this goes beyond her current situation. It has to do with where this is going. Before another reinvention, is this a short-term retreat, or is this the beginning of an entirely new chapter? One in which she permanently withdraws. The discourse is being driven by this uncertainty due to the fact that there has always been an presumption that a return, a comeback, or a fresh opportunity is imminent. This time, though, that presumption seems dubious, and that's what sets this particular moment apart above all others. And right now, it seems like everything is heading in the direction of a conclusion, because circumstances such as this don't persist forever. Something needs to change eventually. Some of them, after all, don't have the best reputation. MBS, one of her closest friends, destroys journalists. Sarah Ferguson is little in comparison to some of these others. Either the distance persists, and this more subdued life becomes her reality, or she returns to the public front and rewrites the story. It's not just about visibility at this junction, it has to do with identity. Being present, being heard, and being involved, whether through the media, charity, or public events, was the foundation of Sarah's identity for many years. A presence was present at all times. However, people start to redefine you if that presence vanishes for an extended period of time. And that change may occur more quickly than anticipated. Additionally, the public's attention doesn't wait. Over time, attention that was once certain may not always be as important. Therefore, timing is crucial if a return is imminent. It gets more difficult to return on the same conditions after a prolonged absence. And for that reason, this moment is really important. It goes beyond what is currently going on, it's about what will happen next. Will the plot be reset at a distinct point of re-entry, or will this peaceful period last, gradually changing how her legacy is perceived? They had to go directly to the front. Their prestige has to be the main focus. That's a different matter. Additionally, my book outlines a number of extremely troubling aspects about Sarah Ferguson. There was a significant problem with the Salman Turk High Court case in 2022 when she received big sums of money that no one could access. At this time, the question looms over everything. Thus, this is the actual question at hand. Is this only temporary, or is something far more enduring? Is Sarah simply putting herself out of sight until the focus changes, waiting for the ideal moment to start over, because she's done it before if history is any indication? Or is this the point at which everything really shifts? The moment when, after years of attempting to stay a part of the royal world, it has finally moved on without her. This feels different because of that, because the information that is now available paints a far more dire picture than it did previously. Since I've really pushed them, I think it's crucial that I can sit here right now and be completely genuine. And I believe it began when Mom moved to Argentina when I was 12 years old, around the year 1970. For my mother to depart, I must be useless. She uses several phones, moves frequently, relies on past connections, and asks close pals how she will cope. All of it indicates something much more important than just keeping quiet. And for that reason, this is receiving attention. This doesn't seem like the prelude to a return. It seems ambiguous, erratic, and musical, unresolved. What do you believe is going on then? After years of devotion and selflessness, has Sarah Ferguson been abandoned? Or is this the result of decisions made in the past finally going full circle? Let us know what you think below. To ensure you don't miss the next royal update, please like, subscribe, and share if this analysis was worth your time.